I'm seeing some familiar faces.
Yeah,
Yes.
and some new,
Mhm.
which is always wonderful. Okay. Well, maybe we'll start because it's just after 5 and people will keep coming in. So, and we've got it on record. So if you missed this first part, you can hear it again. I'm Jan Winhall. I'm the moderator of our group. Our group is growing in leaps and bounds. And unfortunately, on April 1st, April Fool's Day, our group grew in a huge way that wasn't foreseen. So I have a little apology here to read to you from the Polyvagal folks. So thank you for your participation and resilience in the events of April Fool's Day, as we experienced a technology glitch with our group discussion service. I don't know how many of you noticed this, where some members were added to the group without our direction. And that was like over actually 1,000 people were added to the group, which was already like 1,300 people. Please know that PVI is working on something exciting that will offer a new way for our groups to be part of a new community, which will add better technology as well as more connection opportunities. This group we found hasn't been great in terms of helping people follow along and respond to each other. So we're hoping that this next one will really be easier for us to be able to communicate. Apologies from PVI for the Wix glitch. It's against our policy to enroll people without their permission, and we feel bad about it. So we just really wanted people to know that. And over the next couple of weeks, you'll be getting an email about how we're going to switch into a new platform. So hello, and really excited for all of us to be here today. We've got a number of trainers with us, and we're all experienced focusing oriented therapists to be able to help us in terms of exploring the felt sense. So I'm just going to ask each of us to do a brief introduction in terms of your experiencing with felt sense. I mean, the people that are leading us. So Annette, do you want to start? Just say a sentence or two.
Sure. My name's Annette Dubreuil. I'm in Toronto, Canada. And the felt sense for me is where creativity comes from.
And you are a focusing trainer, and you're actually in training to become a coordinator with the International Focusing Institute, right? Mm-hmm. Which is a good place to check out if you want to explore more about focusing. Okay. And Natty?
Well, hello, everybody. I'm in Buenos Aires, Argentina, quite far from everybody else, I guess. And I'm a coordinator in training. And I'm also part of the staff of Focusing on Boredom, and very honored to be so. And for me, the felt sense is my life force.
Beautiful. Jeffrey Halliday.
Thank you, Jan. Hi, everyone. I'm Jeffrey here in Toronto as well. I'm a focusing trainer at Focusing on Boredom. And for me, the felt sense is about my guide, my way forward.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
And Leslie.
Hi, yeah, I'm here in Palm Desert, California, although normally I live in Vancouver, Canada. And I'm a focusing coordinator and was briefly president of the Focusing Institute. And I've been focusing for a very, very long time. And for me, the felt sense is a way into the world of imagination and dreams.
Yes. And Serge, Prengel.
So I'm in the New York City area. I'm a focusing oriented therapist. Jan, Leslie, and I have a training program for focusing oriented therapists. And for me, the felt sense is both something that is deeply embodied as well as something that is beyond. So that kind of a contradiction that is a contradiction in a logical way, but is not a contradiction emotionally when you experience it.
Beautiful. So you can see even from that brief kind of survey that we all really have our own way of expressing and sensing into what felt sense means for us. We
And
wanted to read,
too.
sorry?
Nancy's here.
Oh, where is she? I was looking for her. Okay, Nancy Falls, where are you? Introduce yourself.
Hi, everyone. I'm
Oh, there
Nancy
you are.
Falls, and I'm a focusing-oriented therapist in near Toronto in Mississauga, and I'm a coordinator with the Focusing Institute and also on their International Leadership Council. So I'm just thrilled to be here. For me, the felt sense is very similar to what Jeffrey said, is the guide to how I live my life and how I help everybody else that I work with find their way forward.
Beautiful. So all of us here are also really familiar with polyvagal theory. And what I did in my book was really to bring together the felt sense in the body as a process, Gendlin's felt sense, with Steve Porges' sense of neuroception, the autonomic nervous system in the body. And those are the two bodily processes that I crossed in the Felt Sense Polyvagal Model. And we're going to start with the grounding practice that I teach to people that bring those two basic embodied processes together. So we'll start with a nice experiential practice that we're really going to do what we're then going to explain more and have some time to practice as well. So let's take a moment to just settle in your seat. If you want to stand up, some people are really comfortable standing or moving. We do have whole body focusing as well. So you just find the position that's right for you. And you're welcome to turn your camera off at this point if you want to. And then just slowly beginning to settle yourselves. And then softening your gaze. And you might want to close your eyes. Just check and see what feels right. And then slowly bringing your attention somewhere down into the center of your body. I'm inviting your body to take a few nourishing breaths. And see if you can extend that exhalation breath to activate the healing place of the vagus nerve, the ventral branch. Just gently inviting the body to slow down. Get in here. And knowing that your body will decide if it's okay to relax a little bit more. And being with your body from the inside, noticing how you're holding yourself. How is your body carrying you? Are you held tight? A bit anxious and wound up in a kind of flight-fight place? Just noticing. Or maybe it feels really loose and comfortable in a relaxed, kind of grounded place in the body. The place we call flock, where we all come together in social engagement, like right now. Or maybe there's the edges of a kind of heavy, a lethargic, or a depressed kind of shutting down and folding in place in the body. Just being curious. This would be the dorsal branch of the vagus that gets kind of numb, immobilized, hard to move at times, sleepy. And it's good to notice what your default is. Where do you usually live in your body, in your nervous system? Then would it be okay to find an experience, a moment in time that feels calm, kind of grounded? It doesn't have to be perfect. You're just imagining a time in your life, a moment when you feel okay. Things are moving along and you have a sense of managing. And if a time like that is hard to find, you could invite something in your imagination. What would it be like in your body if things felt okay? And then notice, what's the story? Are you alone? Or who's with you? And what's happening? And notice where this place lives in your body. Your heart, in your breath. How is this place held in your shoulders? Up into your throat, your jaw. And notice the smells and the sounds. And how are you feeling about what's happening in this place that feels okay? And what are you thinking? You might find that your body begins a kind of felt shift process, a shifting into a kind of physical release into this ventral grounded place. A kind of settling in, feeling a little more relaxed in the chair or in standing. And then notice if there's a word or maybe an image, a phrase, something, a movement that really captures the quality of this place. This is what we call the handle in focusing. And welcome whatever comes from this deep place inside. Your body's knowing of grounding and connection. Even if it's just the edges of it, we really welcome and appreciate whatever came there. As we're all here together. Beginning to feel into the edges of what we imagine safety is in the body, in our community. Maybe just say that handle one more time to yourself, or see it, or move into it in your body if it's a gesture. This is a place that you can resource, you can come back to whenever you need it. It's always here in you. It's our body's gift to us. Even if you can just find the edges of it. And sometimes it's off in the distance, but there's a sense of knowing that it is there somewhere. And that we've all shared this moment in it. And then when you're ready, slowly and gently, coming back to the room, opening your eyes, hopefully turning your camera back on so we can all really see each other and feel into this beautiful place of social engagement that Steve has given us this wonderful name. And at Focusing on Board in our community, when we do this, we hold this part of the vagus nerve, the ventral branch, right above the diaphragm, up into the chest, and then it moves right up into your cheek, into your ear, right, across into our faces, so that when we look at each other, we can really feel that sense of connection. Yeah. And we love doing this, even though we feel shy. It just feels so good, especially now with the world the way that it is. So thank you for sharing that with me. And now we're going to move into thinking a bit and then experiencing again the top down, bottom up, the beautiful model that Steve Porges talks about, and also Gendlin about, really using both processes of body up and then top down. So I think, Annette, you're going to take us through the steps.
Yes, exactly. I'm going to share my screen and walk us through. And need to lower that. Okay. So yeah, there's 6 steps, or sometimes we can call them parts or movements. And really, I'm going to break it down into kind of 2 categories beyond that, 2 conditions and 4 moves. So first, the conditions. So the first one, Jean called it clearing a space. And this is really about coming into the body in a grounded, centered way. And so that's what we just did in this exercise. And we can kind of do that in a more bottom-up way with breath work, with movement, touch, a body scan, or a bit more top-down, where we kind of ask the body what's in the way of me and feeling just fine. And then whatever comes, whether it comes as a thought or a sensation, we visualize putting that down beside us at just the right distance. And either way, you can come to a place where there feels like there's a space inside. There's some room to do some focusing work. And so clearing a space is really a way to begin, but we want to stay in that calm ventral vagus part of our nervous system throughout the practice. And if we lose that, we can come back to it. And then the second one, which is actually step 6 in the 6 steps, is receiving. And this is about having this welcoming attitude. Sometimes we call it the focusing attitude. It's a way of being friendly to whatever is coming in our experience and creating a space to listen to whatever wants to come so that something will come and talk to us. And so important in that is being non-judgmental. And it's quite helpful to bring some heart presence. So we activated the ventral vagus, but the heart, the hand heart, on the face, these different ways of bringing heart energy, heart-centeredness are really helpful. And receiving is also a way to end the practice. So at the moment, taking, at the end of a practice, taking a moment to thank your body for whatever came in reviewing. So this is a way to be throughout the practice and begin and end. And then what do we do in between? Well, this is where we work with the felt sense. And I'm going to go through these 4 moves or steps. So the first one is inviting the body for a felt sense. And we can start that with an issue that we have in mind, although we want to check then to see if the body is agreeing. Sometimes the mind wants to do something and the body's like, not with you, not now, whatever. And so the felt sense must form. Sometimes we'll talk about it a bit and then something will come physically, or we just ask the body what wants attention and we wait for something physical to come. So the felt sense is primarily physical, but there are 4 aspects to the felt sense. There's often emotional qualities in the felt sense, usually more than one. Very often there are thoughts that come, and it's really nice to notice the fresh new thoughts. What's coming that I've never thought about before? This is where something new and fresh is coming. And very often memories, right? Does this feel familiar? And we can go back to memories, or we have a sense that we've been here before. Some quality of it feels familiar. So once we have a felt sense, then we want to know what it's all about, because sometimes we have some sense of, where it is in my body, it's in my belly, and it feels yucky, but we don't know why it's there. And so one way of getting that is asking the body, what's the essence of this? Why is this here? What's coming? And we ask the body in this really broad way. So it can sometimes come as a word or a phrase, but sometimes it comes more poetically, like a metaphor or an image. And sometimes these come quickly, they come clearly. And when that happens, this 4th step, resonating, kind of happens at the same time. So the energy, the feeling of the felt sense and the feeling of the handle, they match so well. We would say they resonate. And usually when that happens, there's a shift. There's a little shift. The body says, yes, that's it. But other times it takes some time. So the words that are coming, they don't quite match. They're in the neighborhood, but it's kind of like, not quite. And so then this resonating step takes longer. We go back and forth between what it's physically feeling, the felt sense, the word options or images that are coming, until there's that resonance, until there's that match. And so very often these felt shifts that can come anytime, very often they come at these moments where the handles, the words, and the felt sense are matching. And the felt shift is a change in a felt sense. And Gendlin called it the heart of the process of focusing. And it is grace, the felt shift. We can't control when it happens, but certainly we can notice little felt shifts, and sometimes we get bigger ones that come with paradigm shifts. And I learned from Ginny Whitelaw, who's a physicist, that resonance is how energy changes form, and it's how change happens. And I think that's so true, that when we get the handle and the felt sense resonating, that's when there's those movements in our focusing practice. So then once it's a match, then we can check, is the felt sense still there? And if it's still there in your body, still in the same place, it wants to say more. And so we go to asking, And we can ask questions. What else does it want you to know? What's the worst about this? What does it need? These are examples of questions. There's a few others, but there aren't that many. There's a pretty short list of questions that really help the felt sense unfold some more. And then that is the process. And then you would go to 6. Now, of course, you can go to all of these moves many, many times. If you think about focusing as kind of like dancing, if you are dancing to a song, you might spin many times, do double steps many times, you might freestyle. So we go through these in any way that serves the body. And that's the 6 steps. So I will stop my share.
Okay. So the idea that I crossed was that where that felt shift happens in the body, Gendlin also called this the motor of change, is also where there's a shift in the neurophysiological state. So sometimes we might move from, say, a sympathetic flight fight place that you might have noticed when you started today, that there was a, how are you in your body, if there is that kind of flight fight energy. And as we move through the steps of focusing and move into, sometimes there's a shift. There isn't always a shift when we focus, but when that happens, what seems to be happening in the body neurophysiologically is a shift in autonomic state down into ventral. And that was what I really crossed or linked together and checked out, of course, with Steve Porges to make sure that that made sense. And it, of course, can move around. You can be in a dorsal state and then be shifting up into mobilizing into sympathetic and then down into ventral. And as we do that, the body opens, there's a physical release, and we just feel better. And then we also feel much more socially engaged with each other, right? Because we all know that when we get kind of down in that dorsal place, we want to isolate. It's really hard to get moving. So one of the great things about polyvagal theory is knowing that that's exactly what we need to do if we want to shift into a more present state. So thank you, Annette. That was great. Serge, would you like to lead us through something now too?
Yeah. So we're talking about felt sense, and it can be a little intimidating because, what is this thing that is kind of knowing from inside, from the body, that's not knowing in that same way? And is it something that you really have to be especially good at to do? And of course not. It's something that we all are born with. So it's a little subtle, and lots of ways in which we lead our lives are essentially to unlearn, to notice the felt sense. And I want to just use a couple of examples to show you that this is something that you have probably experienced in some form or another. So for instance, think about some time when you have a word on the tip of your tongue and you can't quite find it, or the name, somebody's name, and you know that you know it. And you kind of know that maybe tomorrow or day after tomorrow, it will come back. So it's not that you don't know it, but right now you don't. So just kind of remember what it feels like inside, that knowing and not knowing. Okay. And so the knowing and not knowing is something that's very uncomfortable. We evolved to function based on knowing. So we're very uncomfortable with the not knowing, and we try to skip over that. And as if the only important thing is to know. Okay. But that little discomfort in the not knowing is really something that's very rich. And what we do with it, if we take it as something that's a natural state, that not knowing, and we give it some space to expand, that's where focusing helps unpack it. So now let's use a situation. Let's imagine you're in a car and you're driving, and you probably have been driving a little faster than the speed limit. And suddenly in your rear view mirror, you see some lights flashing, and you probably also hear the police car's siren. You haven't fully understood yet, conceptualized that there's a police car, but you're starting to be aware of it. What's happening in your body at that moment? Okay. So probably at that moment, you're starting to maybe tighten your shoulders or something, some kind of a oh shit sensation. You haven't fully articulated the whole thing that's happening, but you probably have a sense of it in a way that you could not fully articulate at that moment. Okay, so what it's about is as you pay attention to the subtle things, as you allow yourself to have some time to stay there, then you kind of have more of a chance to explore the richness of that situation. And what focusing is a way of making it possible, creating a structure, creating a container, having a listener that makes it possible for you to stay with the not knowing, including with staying with the not having a felt sense and not knowing what it's like to have a felt sense and feeling a sense of pressure to have a felt sense and all of that catastrophe. But that's if I'm giving you instructions for it, that if during the practice you find yourself in the middle of this pressure, you're exactly where you need to be. And the exercise that you're doing in a dyad and staying with that sense of pressure and not knowing what you're doing is a perfect application of what we're trying to give you an experience of today. So, Jan?
Beautiful. Thanks, Serge. Okay, so we're going to do a demo now. And Annette, can you spotlight Natty and Leslie for us?
And go and second one.
There we go.
Okay, hi Natty.
Hi,
So
Leslie.
good to see you.
So great to see you too, and to do
Yes.
this with you.
Yes, lucky us. Okay, so we just have 10 minutes, so it's going to be a little bit of a quicker session than maybe normal, but just start by getting yourself settled in your body and comfortable, and just start to clear a space. So just setting aside anything that doesn't really need to be in your inner space right now, and just let me know when you feel clear and present.
I am in fact putting some things aside, like at a distance now. And I know there's a little bit of this sympathetic fight flight that was present at the beginning. And I'm putting that at a side. And there are some other little things.
Just take as much time as you need, just to gently set aside all of the little things and any bigger things that just feel like they don't need to be here right now for our mini focusing session.
Yes, and as I'm doing this, I'm feeling that my exhalations can be longer and my body is getting more into this ventral state. And it's feeling like some water flowing nicely. This is
so it's helping you settle and get into a calmer state just naturally.
Yes, I'm ready.
Ready. Okay.
Almost ready.
Almost
As
okay.
ready as I can be now.
Okay. Okay. So, Natty, would you like to focus on a particular thing, or do you just want to see what your body has to say?
I'd love to focus on a particular thing that came up when, just at the beginning, when Jan was guiding us. There was something that with this going to a nice place where we could feel this nice energy and feeling regulated. And in that ventral state, I came up with an image that is me in nature. And that is this feel in the body of something that is so free, feels so free. And then as I was with this, something else came up that was like kind of separating me from that. And it was, I'm trying to get back to that now, and to have that felt sense with me again right now.
Mm-hmm. The felt sense of the something else that takes you away from the. Mm-hmm. So just bring yourself back through that sequence, starting with the image of yourself in this, free place in nature. Because if you take yourself back there, you might find that the something else comes back too.
Oh yes, thank you for saying that. That was useful. So the thing that is like separating me, and that I thought I want to go back there, and I can feel it coming now again. Mm-hmm. It's like a bubbly feeling, like bubbles from my gut to my throat. And there's something, it has this bubbly quality, and at the same time, it's like when it gets to my throat, there's something that feels like as if, like that teary place where tears come. And there's something that's a bit, it's not pain, and it's not, it's like, oh, that's, I cannot get the word for that. It's something like a little bit of sadness about the not being able to be in touch with that free place, or that place of freedom all the time.
Okay, so there's a way that you're just following the movement as you describe it, and I'm just going to mirror that back, that there's something that sort of bubbles through from your gut to your throat, is in that place where tears can start, a bit of sadness, and it has to do with not being able to stay in that place that feels so free.
Yes. Yes. Hearing you say that came more as something that is moving up to my jaw and my cheeks and my eyes.
Big breath out, it's moving upwards, and it seems like it's very much a dynamic felt sense that's generally moving upward. And so just follow it, and because you're so good at telling me as you feel it, just keep going with this for a minute and see where it takes us.
It's like when I could feel it right up in my eyes and behind my eyes, this sigh came, and something felt totally different. There was a shift there, and I just need to remain a little bit with that shift to really take it all in.
Yes, stay with that shift, the big sigh and the shift, and just take it in. Feel where it is the most intensely felt in your body.
Yes, and as I'm doing that, more comes. Another sigh came, and the feeling of something peaceful, very, very peaceful. And I know there's something in me that wants to get this freedom feeling. So
yes, it seems like there's such a strong desire for that, and I'm smiling inside because I think it's a desire to get the freedom feeling, but to pin it, I want to catch it as sort of a contradiction. So I'm just wondering if you can just allow the movement upward without, trying to capture freedom, if you know what I mean.
Yes, I can do that. Yes. Yes, and it comes like a relief, like not like something that is great. It seems contradictory, but something that is grateful about not needing to seek for that, and at the same time something wanting that. but it comes as a relief also. The main feeling is a feeling of relief there.
Yeah, I can see that when you do that, just not striving for freedom, but just allowing it. There's a sinking down and a different quality in your voice. And so we are, just a couple minutes away from needing to stop. So I'm wondering if you can just sense into this easing that just happened. And if you have a way of marking it, some words or something that will keep it with you.
Yes, now I have this feeling that's coming from my throat, like into my mouth, as if it were like a kind of trembling, but a trembling that feels good, that feels very alive. And I can feel it also behind my eyes. And it's like it feels like a good stopping place. And I can be with that later. But it's like, oh, it feels good there. It feels like there's something very much alive, and it's at ease now.
Yeah, there's all this aliveness in your face and an ease that I can really hear in your tone of voice. And it seems like a place you can return to, but it's a fine place to stop for now.
Yes.
Yeah. Oh, thank you, Nettie. That was so sweet.
Thank you very much, Leslie. That was so nice. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Pleasure.
Feels nice now. Thank you.
I'm getting some of this too, so thank you.
Thank you.
Beautiful. Okay. Does everybody know how to come back to gallery view? Yeah. Okay. So thank you so much. That was really beautiful and such a wonderful example of how, especially when we've been focusing for a while, bodies really know if you kind of tell them, okay, we've got 5 minutes, it just kind of works. And it looks maybe sometimes magical, but it really does. It really is like that, where we can really portion off these moments of 5 minutes or 10 minutes or 20 minutes, and something, there's a way in which it comes together often that feels really good, even when it's really uncomfortable. Gendlin would often talk about that these shifts happen in the body, and even when we're dealing with sometimes very painful or scary things, because it just wants to be comforted and have attention. So we're going to, Annette's going to give us some instructions on dividing up into twos, but don't panic and get nervous and go away. There's specific instructions. And then we're going to come back, and all of us as leaders are going to join a group of each of you to share in whatever we want to do with that time, 15 minutes or so. And then we'll have a bit of time, I guess, a little bit of time for Q&A as well. Okay, Annette.
Yeah, so I've put some instructions in the chat. There's 3 main prompts that you can use. Let's take a moment to ground and connect. So inviting, as you saw Leslie do with Natty, to just take a moment to get into the body. And then the question you can just keep asking every once in a while is, what's happening in the body right now? Inviting them to share out loud. So be comfortable with pauses. Pauses of a minute or so is fine, maybe even 2 minutes. But every once in a while, if there's silence, checking in and then saying back some of what you hear. And if somebody's talking a lot and you have a sense that they're in their head and not in their body, then you can say, let me get that, and say back something. And that helps them slow down a bit and maybe pause. But if people are naturally pausing, you don't need to stop them. You can just say back when there's a natural pause. So I'm going to put you in rooms for 20 minutes. So you'll have 10 minutes each. And then there'll be a 2-minute countdown at the end. So you have 22 minutes total. And then if you need help, just ask for help. And one of us coordinators and trainers will come and help you. So there'll be a help option in the breakout rooms. So I'm opening the rooms. You can join the room.
Okay, what are we doing next, Annette? We're going.
So now I'm gonna recreate the rooms into 7 rooms. 7 rooms, and then we're gonna do Q&A and sharing in the smaller.
Sharing in the smaller groups with one of us.
Yeah, so just give me a second. And it'll just take me a minute because I have to make sure you each have a person.
Okay.
And so meanwhile, we can just talk about what we're going to do in the rooms.
I'm going to explore and be curious.
All right, I think that's good. So,
Okay.
There we go.
Thanks, Annette.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Speaking to what you just said, Jan, about the partnership and the back and forth, is that's one of the things that's been so moving and powerful for me about focusing, is the really like egalitarian sharing. There's not a hierarchy of like therapist and patient, which is wonderful sometimes, but to know that we can do this for each other and that it's reciprocal it's just been so special. And yeah, I love it.
And that was really very much a part of Gene's vision. He wrote a little paper called The Politics of Giving Therapy Away.
Oh.
And his vision in Changes Groups was that if we could listen to each other in these deep kind of ways, far fewer people would need to go to therapists. And it's true. It's certainly been true in my practice. People come, they learn how to do this. They might work through some heavy stuff, but then they go, and they're able to, they have real skills in being able to be there for each other. And, why shouldn't we be able to do that in the world, right? Yeah.
It also strikes me, though, that that it seems like there's some people who would be hard to learn this, that are not going to have that, as therapists, we generally have a sensitivity and empathy and, and also an ability to introspect. And I don't know necessarily that everybody has that.
Well, or that they really want to, and that's okay. That's just fine. And also that many people, especially if you're in the very beginning stages of working through a lot of heavy trauma, of course, being in the body is the last place you want to go to. So one of the skills, of how do we bring clients into the body And one of the skills there is really being very sensitive and using neuroception, your own neuroception, in co-regulating, right, with your client, or just in your life, like just to be very careful about how you invite and when you invite, because you don't want to shame people or really frighten them. So that's the real skill and the art of it. But if you're really looking for a way, you know, it's like, I like this stuff and I love polyvagal theory, or I like, you know, what is all of this about working in the body? This is a beautiful way to really begin that process of going inside.
I want to
Bring it
share
into your practice.
something in the group, the little group that I was in. Two people shared something that was very powerful. As you know, that sense of feeling, the embodied sense, and it becoming a resource. And one, I feel shy and it feels good. And the other, I feel sad and it feels good.
Oh, beautiful. Yeah.
And so the difference when you are feeling it, as opposed to just having a quick sense of it and immediately going to the stereotypical response you have to it, but feeling it, and it becomes a different experience that you can enjoy being with.
And feeling into it and being with it with the help of another person's presence. That we don't have to go to those places alone. And when we give those places what they need, they know the right next step. That's very Gendlin. Yeah. Beautiful. Anybody else want to share?
I'm just so curious with what Serge just said. How did it feel to hear someone share that?
So just wondering whether to share mine and to invite people, or maybe either Marky, who had a reaction, or one of the people. Yeah.
Well, I thank you, Serge. I also noticed in the breakout group, which this relates in a bigger way, how beautiful it is to be able to be present with that kind of focusing attitude and allow and watch things unfold in that way that they do, with the wisdom of the felt sense. And I have been feeling this wish to be able to have this kind of in the world, that we can bring this to the world, this kind of receiving and allowing, and the magic of it as things move the way they need to. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, bringing focusing into the world. So if you're more curious and you'd like a focusing partner, because some people talked about that as well, check out the International Focusing Institute.org. Lots of things going on there. You can check out our websites as well. There's lots of different things going on now. Certainly the world really needs it. Leslie put the website up in the chat. How's our time? I think we have to slowly round this off, as Mary Armstrong, my teacher, would say. She would say, let's slowly round this off inside.
I have one quick question before we go.
Okay.
How often do you guys do these groups, or how do we continue participating in this? This was my first time kind of joining you guys today. Really great.
Well, we run the groups, these live Zoom meetups on the group page once a month. So you can, if you check, it's a little bit funny right now because we're having some technical problems, but all of the recordings of the last months that we've done are there. You can watch them. We're developing a library, a very nice library. And yeah, so once a month. So the one in May is up already listed. May 7th, Annette?
And
May 10. And actually, is Heidi here? Is Heidi doing it? Right?
I'm here. I'm doing it. Yeah. My friend Michael and I. Michael
Yes.
is a community mental health worker, and I'm a piano teacher. We're talking about safety and reciprocity in unequal power relationships.
You're just breaking up a bit
kind
there,
of an
Heidi.
Underexplored paradox. How do you have true reciprocity when the relationship is inherently unequal?
We're having a bit of trouble hearing you. But it's, Nicole, it's up on the group page. The group page may be a little bit funny over the next couple of weeks, but we're here and it'll happen in May. May, what was it, 10?
Yep.
Yeah, yeah.
4 p.m. Eastern.
And you'll see there'll be a Zoom link on the, I think it's already there, isn't it, Annette?
Sure. Yeah, I'll put that in the chat as well.
Okay, yeah, that's great. You put it in the chat. Okay. Thank you so much, everybody, for coming. That was lovely. I think that was the biggest group we've had so far that have signed up. Lots of people listen to the recording when they're not able to make it. And also it's so international that, you know, sometimes the time frame is not good. So be well and be safe. Thank you guys for leading the groups so quickly. And we'll see you next time. Stay safe and stay well. Take care of your ventral vagus.
Mhm.
Bye for now. Bye.
Thanks. Thank you.